It's part 3 of our Guilds of Ravnica set review. Today, we're seeing what Blue-Black has to offer as we review the Dimir Guild. Let's go! Hello everybody, and welcome back to Commanding Magic Season 3, Episode 1.3, the Guilds of Ravnica set review. And in this episode, Brandon and I are going to be reviewing the Dimir Guild. Brandon, how do you feel about Dimir in the Guilds of Ravnica set?
I really like them. I like them a lot. It really feels on point.
Dimir's come a long way. Yeah, Dimir's come a long way. And contrary to popular belief, we have Lazav being the leader of the Dimir Guild now, as opposed to what we had from the get-go, which what I would argue to be a lesser-known guild leader as far as all the rest of the guild leaders go, right?
Well, I mean, the Dimir are just the House of Secrets.
Yeah, so no one even knows. Like, who knows? Maybe Lazav isn't even the leader of the Dimir Guild. But
I mean, what is even Lazav, anyway?
Well, as far as I know, he is multifarious. He costs 2 mana. He's a shapeshifter. He's a 1/3. And when Lazav the Multifarious enters the battlefield, you Surveil 1. Surveil? What does that even mean?
Oh man, we're first card, new mechanic.
Let's go.
Amazing.
So Surveil says, so we have Surveil, the keyword, and then X essentially. So it could be 1, 2, 3, what have you. And then it says, look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. So the number that comes after the Surveil indicates the number of cards that you will look at from the top of your library. And then you may put any number of those cards into your graveyard. This is an amazing mechanic.
Oh, yes.
This is a great mechanic.
You know, a couple of years ago, or not even a couple of years ago. God, no, yeah, it was a couple of years ago when we went back to Innistrad and they introduced Skulk as a mechanic, and they tried to pass that off as the new blue-black mechanic, and it failed miserably.
Yeah,
this is a fantastic new mechanic for blue and black.
Surveil is a mechanic that bridges borders between color pairings, I think.
Right.
Whereas Skulk was just kind of vanilla. Can you even name me a creature that had Skulk?
The Odric we got out of that had Skulk and a keyword that if your creatures had Skulk, it would give them out.
But like a creature that had Skulk inherently.
I don't. I
All right,
could not tell you.
I'm just gonna go ahead and pull something up here, and I'll pull it up on Gather here just so we can. Okay, so this is like, I feel like this is a good thing. Oh, that doesn't even. Oh yeah, I guess it does. Okay, So really quick, we're gonna bring up here. The card Behind the Scenes.
Behind the Scenes?
Oh, crap. Yeah, so Behind the Scenes was a black enchantment that costed 3 mana. It says creatures you control have Skulk. They can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So it empowered the little guys.
Right.
Which actually pairs great with something that I talked about in our last episode with Johnny Slayer of the Big Guys, or whatever he was called, that just had that great synergy with the low-powered creatures. This card goes in that deck, right? All you have to do is make it black and white, but who knows?
Well, you can make the black-white Exalted deck, but
you could.
Creatures don't have
you'd be missing.
Power.
Yeah, you'd be missing out on like everything. But Skulk is something that I feel like was just kind of overlooked in a big way.
They didn't push it as hard as they did as Surveil.
Yeah.
I feel like if they tried to push Skulk a lot harder, it could have gotten a lot more broken.
So, as a good way... Good.
No, that's fine.
So as a good way to kind of push what Surveil could actually do for you is really built into Lazav the Multifarious' kit. His second ability being X, Lazav the Multifarious becomes a copy of target creature in your graveyard with converted mana cost X, except its name, in addition to its other types, except its name is Lazav the Multifarious. It's legendary in addition to other types, and it has this ability. So Lazav can become another creature in your graveyard And all you have to do is pay X, and Lazav becomes that creature, except he is still Lazav, and he has the ability to become other creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And we know this of
great.
Lazav. Yeah, we know this of Lazav because of past renditions of him. Let me pull one up right now. Or pull the only other one up that there is.
As far as we know,
Who knows? Yeah, anyone
could
can
be
be Lazav. I could be. Who knows? So the original Lazav, which I actually like the mana cost of the original Lazav a little bit better. I understand that the new version is a little bit more aggressively costed, but I really love the double.
a little bit more aggressively costed.
Yeah, it's a lot a bit more aggressively costed.
I mean, even after he died for the first, he's just paying 4 for.
Yeah.
Right.
So the original Lazav having hexproof being a 3/3, and then it says whenever creatures put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you may have Lazav become a copy of that creature. And so they kind of work opposite of each other. The original Lazav affects your opponents, and the new Lazav is influenced by what's in your graveyard. But the new Lazav is kind of turbocharged by that Surveil mechanic. And I understand that's only when he enters the battlefield, but if you're building around that mechanic, you can have all sorts of other abilities that do similar things.
Yeah.
Just so we're covering all our bases here, the original leader of the Dimir Guild, Zodic, Lord of Secrets. I'm bringing it up on the screen here. I'm not even going to go over the card because no one remembers it anyway. But a card that I think people are going to remember going forward is a Trata the Silencer, Brandon.
Trata the Silence. 2 blue and a black vampire assassin. 3/5. Trata the Silencer can't be blocked. Whenever a Trata deals combat damage to a player, exile target creature that player and put a hit counter.
Ooh, hit counter.
Okay. That player loses the game. They own 3 or more cards, or 3 or more exiled cards with hit. Trata's owner shuffles a Trata into their library. You know, play this as your commander. You're just... That last little sentence there doesn't even matter. Because you just replacement effect, put it into the... Or bounce it back.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That
Anything
replacement effect.
that avoid before that.
Yeah, that replacement effect.
As soon as this ability goes stack to put a hit counter and exile something, you bounce it before trigger completely resolves. You shuffle it in. So,
is that really how that works? That's so good. Now I know why people are into this card so much. And so this card goes in the Assassin's deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily work as efficiently, but
no, but it's
still
a great
goes.
alternate win con.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look at that artwork.
Original Vraska?
No. But look at that artwork, though.
Artwork. I wasn't quite a fan of the guild deck artwork because she got different for that.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah.
I don't
was
know.
the face.
Right. ETRA. Let's see. Let's pull that up really quick. Oh, yeah. Okay. I gotcha. And unfortunately, because of the way the Gatherer does things, we're going to be treated to a huge version of this card. But you can see the artwork here. And yeah, I think that the original artwork looks a lot better.
I mean, in that artwork, she looks like a real person. Like Damir is just trying to be. Like, they're not trying to stand out.
Yeah.
Trying to be secretive for a reason.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just like the menacing artwork. And just everything, the bats behind it and everything.
Yeah, so this card does well by itself as the commander.
Yep.
Awesome. But does House Guildmage do anything for anybody?
House Guildmage do anything?
That's a good question. Let's see. Being 2 mana for a 2/2, this is the House Guildmage. Our Damir Guildmage for the set, Human Wizard. And for tapping 2 and tapping itself, target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Tap 3 and tap itself, Surveil 2. This card's bad.
So 3 mana tap and Surveil 2? Is it worth it for the Surveil? Okay, we've done it for all the other Guildmages. Let's compare the others. So,
yeah.
Duskmantle Guildmage was on Gatecrash.
Yeah.
1 blue-black. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere this turn, that player loses 1 life. Okay.
I
2
mean,
blue-black. Target player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard.
so it's a little underwhelming in my opinion.
Yep. I mean, it's about mill, and that's kind of what Dimir really used to be about, was milling. So it was on flavor.
Yeah. So, but what about the original?
The original Damir Guild Mage. It's, human wizard, same power, same mana cost, basically. 3 and a blue. Target player draws a card, activate this ability anytime you could cast a sorcery.
Okay.
Okay. Really expensive for that. 3 and a black. Target player discards a card, activate this ability anytime you can cast sorcery. I would say the newest one is the better of all. Honest to God.
You think so?
Just because of the Surveil. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the Dimir Guild Mage has a little bit more utility. Like a wide, go wide utility. Like it could do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The House Guild Mage, with the Surveil, I think you kind of want to at least be playing a little bit around with something that could synergize with Surveil, but the untapping a creature thing is still kind of okay.
Yeah. Now, of course, we only have Surveil in this one set so far.
Yeah, but the thing
if it turns out to be anything like Prowess did, RIP in Peace Prowess, it could be, a new evergreen mechanic that we'll see going forward.
Is Prowess not evergreen?
It was talked about a couple months ago, and I mean, it just goes to show the fact that it's not been in a couple sets that it's not evergreen anymore.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, it really bums me out.
I think that's Surveil deserves. I mean, that's just me saying it, just having those rose-colored glasses,
Right?
Because it just seems super powerful. I played a deck in draft that was really good. That was kind of Surveil based, but I don't know how good it is in just the everyman's deck, So, that being said, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our rare double card here from Guilds of Ravnica for Damir, being Connive and Concoct. So Connive being hybrid and 2, so 4, for a sorcery that says gain control of target creature with power 2 or less. That's kind of like Threads of Disloyalty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's at sorcery speed, but it's not an enchantment.
Okay.
That's weird, right?
Concoct?
But that's weird, though, right?
No.
It's not an enchantment. That's not weird, is it? Is that weird? I think that's weird.
No.
Let me take a look at... what other card gains control of something that's not an enchantment?
Active Treason?
That's just till end of turn, though.
Right. But in this case, for 4 mana, you just get a dude.
Okay, sure. If that's how it's got to be, that's how it's got to be. But
seems fair to me.
Sure. Yeah, I suppose that Connive costs 1 more mana than Threads of Disloyalty, but it's a little bit easier to cast. I don't know. But Concoct being our 5 mana sorcery that says Surveil 3, then return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's really good.
Right to the battlefield, not to your hand, top of the library, just any creature from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Wow. So we're used to having effects like Zombify, as far as having things that don't have a drawback to it. 4 mana sorcery, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So in this scenario, you are forcing the player that casts this spell to pay an extra blue to provide them some sort of card selection and being able to return something. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that being said, Zombify is an uncommon. Was it always an uncommon? Let me look. I don't know how to tell. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it looks like it was always uncommon. Yeah. Ooh, arch enemy. Ooh, look at that 8th and 9th edition artwork, the old school. The zombie just coming out of the ground there. But yeah, this card seems pretty sweet. In my opinion, that connive thing is just really good.
Just the best part about it.
Just the fact that it's not till end of turn, it's not an enchantment, so it's permanent no matter what you do. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But Nightveil Predator is another really sneaky looking card as far as the artwork goes, but it's got the double mana cost, which I really enjoy. For a 3/3 with flying death touch hex proof. This is good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Freaking Vampire
It's
Knight.
a 3/3. It's got death touch and hexproof, so it's hard to deal with.
Yeah, it's Vampire Nighthawk on steroids as far as I'm concerned.
It's gonna trade with something.
Yeah, it's gonna trade with something, and well, it doesn't have first strike, so even if a Vampire Nighthawk and this card were to collide with each other, they would both die. But at the same time, it's impervious to spot removal from your opponent.
Yep.
So I don't know. This is just I imagine this card is really good in drafts as just a beater.
Mm-hmm. Is it worth it in Commander? Probably not.
No, probably not. Like the value is there in that draft format, but in Commander it just doesn't hold its weight. But as a counterpoint, I think Vampire Nighthawk in Commander is still actually pretty good because it's 3 mana. And I feel like the difference between what you want to do on turn 3 and turn 4 is huge.
Yep. You want to start hitting your combo pieces turn 4 and
yeah, or your other big beaters or more ramp or things that just further your gameplay, whereas this card on turn 4, you just kind of play it and pass the turn. And I understand that you would still do with that with the Vampire Nighthawk, but I feel like the implications between these two cards, I think the underlying keywords here that we have to pay attention to are flying and death touch. It's not so much about the hexproof on Nightveil Predator, and it's not so much about the lifelink on the Vampire Nighthawk. It's about the flying and death touch.
Right. And, like you said in draft, I'm sure. I mean, just not counting the 1/1 white flyer we'll get to eventually.
Right.
But, this is going to put you on a clock.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Mm-hmm. So, although Nightveil Predator has some implications in perhaps some other formats, mainly draft, and we have kind of established the Vampire Nighthawk might actually be the stronger card, even though its stats don't necessarily compare. It's all about keywords and when you can play it in the space of what commander players want to be doing on turns 2, 3, 4, 5, what have you.
Right, and also the fact that it does have lifelink, it does work in other decks.
Yeah. So next up, we're going to go ahead and move into a mana rock. It is the Damir locket. It is a locket that costs 3 mana. It adds a blue or black, and for 4 hybrid mana, you're sacrificing it to draw 2 cards. There's a locket for every guild pairing in Guilds of Ravnica, and I imagine it will be that way moving forward. And that's just about it. It's very cut and dry. But what isn't cut and dry
still stands is that I like the lockets. But
Brendan does not like the lockets. Write it down. Remember,
I've said it on all 3. I will continue to say it for the other 7.
I'm going to make a montage of you saying that you don't like them.
Go for it.
But do you like Discovery and Dispersal?
I like it. I don't like it played against me, but I like it.
Sure.
So 1 of blue or black for sorcery, Surveil 2, then draw a card.
I think that's pretty sweet.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's about it. It's a good card.
Yep.
By itself.
Mm-hmm. What about Dispersal?
3 of blue and a black. For an instant, each opponent returns a non-land permanent they control with the highest CMC among permanents they control to its owner's hand. So everybody, besides you, does, right? And then they discard. So, perfect scenario, they return the best thing they have to their hand in an empty hand and then discard it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, so, ideally you're doing this on like a total when people are just playing off the draw and either they have nothing in their hand or they are working on 1 card, then they return something and they have to make that choice.
Right, and it's not like they have like a grip full of like lands and stuff and they can, I'll just pitch a land, no problem.
Yeah, definitely. Again, this is our uncommon double card here.
I think this is actually a little bit better than the rare one, though.
You think
With
so?
its utility. Yep. In my opinion.
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like maybe if it were discovery and concoct, it would be a little bit better, you know? As far as commander goes, because with where is it? With discovery, you're getting a little bit of card advantage as opposed to connive, where you're kind of getting control of a mana dork in a
Right.
commander scenario. And then on the other hand, concoct
It might
is the
have to be mythic if we put it together like that. Here.
yeah, maybe that's totally fair.
So how about Mnemonic Betrayal?
Mnemonic Betrayal is a 3 mana mythic rarity sorcery sporting some pretty crazy
Metal
artwork.
artwork.
Yeah. That's an
That's
album.
sweet.
That's an album cover.
So I don't know if you've noticed. I don't know if you have played a whole lot of Arena, but every mythic has its own unique animation when you play it. The animation for this card is the best animation in the game.
Oh, really? Is it really good?
Travis will have to throw this in post, but it looks fantastic when you play this card in Arena.
What is it? Can you just like describe what it does?
I mean, basically, it's a skull, and then it gets broke open by that dagger.
Oh,
whole,
okay.
Like, explosion around it.
Right.
You'd have to see it.
You'd have to
But-
see it to believe it.
I mean, you do.
Anyway, what this card actually does is
I
it's
don't care what it does.
it's a 3 mana sorcery that says exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards. Even that to begin with is still pretty sweet. And then you may cast
3
those
mana?
yeah, and then you may cast those cards this turn, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast those spells. At the beginning of the next end step, if any of those cards remain exiled, return them to their owner's graveyards. Exile Mnemonic Betrayal. So this gives you a one shot. If you had one shot to cast anything from your opponent's graveyard, would you go for it or let it slip?
Just let it slip.
So,
Obviously, go for it.
Mom spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti.
So this card isn't something you want to play on turn 3. This is something.
No.
This is a late game card,
Oh,
Which-
this is the best late game card.
which makes its mana cost all the more worth it.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
Since
mean?
it's so cheap. You know, you play this on turn 1,000,000 in Commander because you're playing casual. And
Yeah,
nobody's dead yet.
and casual games go that far.
And you play this, and you have the 1,000,000 mana you can spend, and then suddenly everybody's dead.
I think there's a lot more things you can do with 1,000,000 mana, though.
I mean, this is not what I want to be doing, but it's what I'd like to be doing.
Yeah.
I'd like to cast all your stuff.
I'll tell you something, though, Brandon.
What's that?
This next card. I love this next card, and you don't,
don't
quite
understand
love it. You don't quite get it.
I think it's overrated in my opinion. But
So-
that's
Brandon thinks that Doom Whisperer, our 5 mana 6/6 Nightmare Demon with Flying and Trample, is a little bit overrated.
it's got flample.
Flample. That's like Sprung Hack.
We haven't done that.
Yeah. But wait, there's more. For paying 2 life, you can Surveil too. So I can totally understand how this may seem overrated to some people. And I think I'm just partial to this card because I've had this pet deck, this Sidisi deck, forever. And when I read this card, it pretty much tells me to pay 2 life, Surveil 2, and make a zombie. But
Yeah.
but the thing of it is, it doesn't cost me mana. It only costs me life. So it's repeatable.
Yeah. I mean, use your life as a resource. That's
and-
what it's there for.
And if I can get hit after hit after hit after hit, I'm into it.
Right.
And that's
as
just
long
how
as you
that
don't
is.
eventually kill yourself.
I mean, that's fair. That's something that eventually every player has to worry about. in
Future
Magic.
me will worry.
Yeah, this is future me's problem. Right now, I'm paying 100 life to see how many zombies I can get.
And I'm just riding the value train to Hype Town right here.
That's right. But eventually, something
All
comes
your
along.
dreams are eaten.
Yeah, I think we were both heading the same direction with that. Tell me about Dream Eater, Brandon.
Dream Eater, 4 blue, a Nightmare Sphinx. Not a demon. It's a Nightmare. A Nightmare
Nightmare
demon.
Sphinx.
Nightmare Sphinx. This is
All right, then.
terrifying.
It is. Very scary
Yeah.
artwork.
Flash and flying. It's 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, Surveil 4. Okay. On it's a little small body for that, but okay.
Sure.
When you do, you may return target non-permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand. Okay.
Okay, so
Not mythic rare.
no, I don't think so either. I think it's mythic rarity just because it's a Sphinx.
Well, also draft and all that. That's really where your rarities come from.
Yeah, that's fair. In draft, I imagine this could be pretty sweet because in draft, if you're paying, I mean, on turn 5 or turn 6 or during your opponent's turn, if you're paying that 6 mana to go ahead and Surveil 4, fill up your graveyard with something. Because if you're playing this card, it's either because you've just rare drafted it, or you're actually going for that type of Surveil deck that can take advantage of things that are in your graveyard, and you also get to bounce something your opponent controls, which that late in the game, in draft, I think that's pretty important.
I mean, leaving mana open to flash this guy in. I mean, you're leaving a big signal open. You know.
Oh,
you
yeah,
have to leave
of
6
course.
mana open to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, sure.
That's not hero or commander.
But other than that, I think that this card is just nice for the artwork, and that's pretty much where it ends.
It's okay. What about Blood Operative?
How about Blood Operative? I'm reading this card for the first time.
I've had it played against me a few times in Arena.
This is 3 mana for a 3/1 Vampire Assassin. So it's a vampire and an assassin. It has lifelink, and then when Blood Operative enters the battlefield, you may exile target card from a graveyard.
Okay.
Whenever you Surveil, if Blood Operative is in your graveyard, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return Blood Operative to your hand.
So this works really well with Surveil because you can choose to put something in your.
When it
Right.
when it enters the battlefield, exile target card. You may. So why would you may?
I don't know.
I can tell you why. For your Mist Hollow Griffin,
Oh man.
we're going wide.
Or
so-
your Squee, you know?
Yeah, that's right. These two cards are coming up more often than I think is appropriate.
Anyway.
Like what the heck?
But yeah, you can choose him to put this in the graveyard when you're surveilling, or if you're just playing green black something and you put something in your graveyard somehow, because stuff ends up in your graveyard in green black.
Yeah, so it
You
kind
can
of
bring it back when you surveil.
it kind of refills your hand, and then giving you another opportunity to cast it. Like, is this a weird way for them to try to rework the ability, like Bloodghast's ability?
I don't know, but
Yeah,
I think the best part about this is the fact that it has a lifelink and 3 power, and you have to pay 3 life to get it back. It just fuels itself because you're going to attack with it, and if
yeah.
it trades, you're going to gain 3 life, and you'll use that 3 life to get it back. It just feeds itself.
That's a really
That's
good
the
point.
best thing about this.
That's a really good point. But Mission Briefing is a card that I know a little bit about.
Oh yeah,
Because I drafted it once.
hey, this one time when I drafted.
Yeah, one time at draft camp. Being blue for an instant, and it says Surveil 2. All right, already I'm in. And then choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So, it's like a weird Snapcaster Magi type effect.
Mm-hmm.
But you also get to Surveil, but you just have to kind of keep in mind that you need the mana to cast the spell that you're targeting in your graveyard already. So, pardon me. So, in this scenario, and I think in most scenarios, Snapcaster just trumps this card because Snapcaster, I mean, it's a creature, right? So it provides a little bit more utility than just being able to do this. But but at the same time, Mission Briefing, like if you want to kind of try to start going off with whatever sort of like Who knows? Maybe Gravestorm, Brandon.
Gravestorm?
Gravestorm. You know,
You
that one
brewing up
mechanic.
something over there?
No, I'm really not. I wish I were because I wish we would have seen more of Gravestorm. But I think they both have their places, but overall, Snapcaster Mage just takes the cake,
Yeah.
which I'm not at all surprised about.
about-
But somebody who does take the cake is Thief of Sanity, Brandon.
One a blue and a black for a Spectre. It's got flying. It's a 2/2. Whenever Thief of Sanity deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 3 cards of that player's library. Exile one of them face down. Then put the rest into their grave. Okay?
Okay.
For as long as that card remains exiled, you may look at it, you may cast it, and you may spend mana or mana of any type to cast it.
So I feel like cards like this come up pretty often, right?
They didn't used to.
Is it just recently?
Yeah. Well,
What was that one
used to
card?
they used to be, you'd have to spend like that specific color of mana to cast it. But a lot of times lately now, it's mana of any color to cast.
Yeah, so the card that immediately comes to mind when talking about this is Night Vale Spectre, being a specter from the previous rendition of Ravnica, being the 3 hybrid blue-black for a 2/3 flying. When it deals combat damage, that player exiles the top card of their library, so this one is the top 3 cards of their library. Arguably it's a little bit more difficult to cast, but with Night Vale Spectre you have to pay those cards mana cost, but with Thief of Sanity you can pay anything. It's pretty convoluted, the types of crossovers you can make here of like what makes one card better and one card worse. Even the Night Vale Spectre being a 2/3 versus the Thief of Sanity being a 2/2. But then there's the mana cost thing you could make the argument, this one's better or this one's better. It's very interesting. I want someone to write a paper, like an essay, on Thief of Sanity versus Night Vale Spectre and tell me.
Which one's better?
Yeah, tell me which one's better. And I guarantee you that whoever won would have an unmoored ego.
Man, all the segues here.
So
What
unmoored
does this
ego.
card even do?
I don't know. The artwork's very strange.
Mhm.
Very strange. Being 3 mana sorcery. This is choose a card name. I already don't like it for Commander. Search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name, so a playset, and exile them. That player shuffles their library and draws a card for each card exiled. Oh, exiled from their hand. Okay. I was going to say, for each card, if I'm going to pay 3 mana for my opponent to draw 4 cards, no thank you.
I mean, this card we really can't play. If it targeted everybody, that would be great. Get rid of everybody soaring, something.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
But, other than that, this isn't for us.
Nope.
I think that's why I'd never read it. I started with that, and I was like, okay, moving on.
Moving on to something that I just want to touch on very quickly, because I enjoy this card in draft, is Dimir Spybug, the 2 for a 1/1 flyer that has Man-Ass.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Dimir Spybug. In draft, I've had this be, I think that the highest I got it was a 5/5, but that was good enough for me.
Oh, nice.
Because it was in draft.
Right.
So, yeah. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. About Disinformation Campaign.
Disinformation Campaign. I have to be really careful about what I say here because this could get really political in real life real quick. What's Disinformation Campaign, Brandon?
So it's 1 a blue and a black for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and each opponent discards a card. Whenever you surveil, turn Disinformation Campaign to its owner's hand.
All right. You draw a card. Each opponent survey. Wow, this card could actually be pretty sweet. But as something in a situation where you just have a 1 of in Commander, I don't know how actually useful this could be. Because
In Commander, if we're really building, we have to put every card with Surveil in that.
yeah, that's kind of
We
what
don't
I was
have enough
thinking. Well,
support.
that's kind of what I was thinking too.
It's not as, you play Shu Yun with prowess and you're good.
Right.
I mean, in order to really get the best out of Surveil, you have to play everything with
Yeah, you do.
Whereas with prowess, you just play a couple dudes with prowess and then 0 mana artifacts, keep spells, anything you could do,
Yeah.
and just whooping butt.
Yeah. But if you're playing Night Vale Sprite, it's a little bit better, right? Because for 2 mana for a 1/2 fairy rogue with flying, whenever Night Vale Sprite attacks, Surveil 1.
I mean, what you do is you play sprite turn 2,
Sure.
Disinformation Campaign turn 3,
Attack turn
swing
4.
with the sprite,
Oh, yeah. Turn 3 as
and then
well.
bounce it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Turn 3, you're attacking with the sprite, you're bouncing it back to your hand, and then recasting it, because obviously you've not cast anything yet this turn.
Yeah.
So that's when you start getting real value, but
How do you-
that's, again, not here or there.
yeah. How do you feel about Price of Fame?
What does it even do? 3 and a black for an instant. Cost 2 cast if it targets a legendary creature. Destroy target creature.
And
Surveil
Surveil too.
Okay. See, this is where, I get the opinion that Seville has been very pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Because that could have been a card just fine by itself.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
they just
one
mashed
in black
Surveil onto it, yeah.
or just 4 to destroy anything. Sure.
What about the Guilds of Ravnica cancel, Brandon? Sinister Sabotage.
1 blue, counter target spell, Surveil 1. That's it.
This card is better than cancel. And the artwork is like, it's fine. It's got the Damir symbol there, being all fancy, and this is it mage. You looking all surprised, be like, oh no,
Right.
what's happening? I've been sinisterly sabotaged. I don't know.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of the 3 mana counter target spell and then tack on something onto the end of it.
Some of them are good.
Yeah. I think some of the older ones are where they really shine.
Right.
And I'm having a
Resolve?
really hard.
Counter target
Yes.
spell, scry 1.
Yes. No, that's not what I was thinking of. What was I thinking of? It was none of those. Dang it. It has like a merfolk on it. It's a counter spell that you counter something and you can bottom it on your opponent's library or something like that.
I have no idea.
I have to go find
Oh,
it.
no. I think I know what you're talking about. Oh, man. It's got a moonfolk. It's not a merfolk.
Oh, it's a moonfolk?
Yeah, because it's from Kamigawa, right?
Maybe. Let's see. We're going to find this.
Okay.
Cha-cha-cha. Charmin. And I used to want to... It's funny because I used to want to run this type of spell in every commander deck ever. And then I realized it was one of those times where I thought that every card that was good had to go in if it was the colors that I was playing. You know the feeling? Yeah. And
I do, because I've done that before.
yeah, and eventually I just kind of came to my senses
Uh-huh.
and said, oh, I don't know. And this whole time I've just been trying to talk and scroll through these cards so I can find the card that I'm looking for. Okay, so perfect example here would be Disallow, right?
Okay.
3 mana instant counter target spell, activated ability or triggered ability.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
It's also 1 rarity level above.
I guess I'm not really, or like, okay, dissipate. Counter
Dissipate's
target,
really good.
counter target spell. If it was countered this way, exile it instead. Right.
In the, format or time when Dissipate was printed, you didn't want things going into graveyards.
Oh yeah,
In
just because.
Commander, most of the time, you don't want things going to graveyards anyway.
Yeah, that
Odds
is.
are things
yeah.
are gonna start broken eventually.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm not going to stop until I find this one card. I know exact. Oh, here it's Hinder. Hinder is the card that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And Hinder is 3 mana instant counter target spell. If it was countered this way, put it on the top or bottom if it's owner's library.
So it says always put it on the top or on the bottom.
Yeah. So yeah, that was what I wasted so much time.
Yeah, see,
Try-
it's
trying
a
to find
Moonfalk, and it's from Kamigawa.
Yeah, You're totally right.
I knew I had the art in my head. I just have never played it before,
Yeah, you're.
so I knew what it was. How about Thought Erasure?
Thought Erasure. is a 2 mana sorcerer. This is target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from that opponent, discards that card, Surveil one. It's our had to be discard spell.
Still okay.
Yeah, it's not
not
something that I would run. It's not my style, but I can see how this could be sweet, especially in a deck that takes advantage of having things in your graveyard or surveilling in general.
Yeah.
Tell me about the artwork on Artful Takedown.
I mean, what do you need to know? Artful Takedown is everything about. I mean, what don't you need to know about Artful Takedown? It's fantastic. I mean, the dude is dropping. Looks like he's just dropped from, a skyscraper
Yeah,
and just, got this goblin dead to rights.
Yeah.
And is also killing the cameraman.
I love modal spells.
It's great.
Like 4 mana instant, choose one or both. Tap target creature, and target creature gets -2/-4 till end of turn. It's useful. Is it the best type of removal? No, but still
but
sweet.
Who's gonna see this coming?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, you go in for the attacks, and before blockers are declared, tap your dude, kill this dude. Suddenly, I get a better attack. Or it can even be used in the defensive. On there, when they go to attacks before they've declared their attackers, tap a guy down and then kill a guy.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they
That's
have
why instants are great.
instants are great. And you know what else is great? Creatures with Flash. This episode sponsored in part by Creatures with Flash.
Yep.
So Artful Takedown, is this the Darkblade agent performing the Artful Takedown?
I don't know.
So
Where's the Dark Agent?
I don't know, a few cards down.
Oh, a few cards down?
At 3 mana for a 2/3, we have a human assassin, so another assassin here. And then as long as you've surveilled this turn, Darkblade agent has Death Touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. It's not you may, you've got to draw the card. But as far as drawing cards go, I enjoy drawing cards.
Everybody. Well, no, you have Death Touch on it. It's okay. It's not what we want to be doing in Commander, but, it's okay.
You have to try really hard to get this thing. It's no Shadow Mage Infiltrator. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Shadow Mage Infiltrator being our 3 mana 1/3 with fear, so it's more difficult to block. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So not only is Shadow Mage Infiltrator more difficult to block, but you don't have to have a prerequisite to get that card draw. And even if you do have an opportunity for the card draw, you don't have to do it if for whatever reason you don't want to disturb the top card of your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean,
Not
that was a
Dazzling
long time ago that was printed.
Yeah.
So Tasseling Lights is our 1 mana target creature gets -3/-0 at instant speed. And then you Surveil too.
Basically, one blue Surveil 2. That's fine, right?
So I think that here, what we're seeing a lot more than any other of the mechanics that we've seen so far is I don't think that Surveil really does much by itself.
No? I mean, you pseudo scry,
Yeah.
right? You don't have the chance to put it on the bottom. You can put it in your graveyard. This is where I got to talking about the last episode where putting a card in your graveyard helps fuel the undergrowth mechanic.
Yep. Or jumpstart, I guess.
Right. Because, you're just synergies between the guilds. It's great.
Yeah. So far, out of everything we looked through, I think that Mentor is the best one still so far.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm scrolling at this point. So, a fun fact to mention about this review of the Dimir Guild is that the Dimir Guild has the most cards of all the guilds.
Mm-hmm.
But I already find myself scrolling.
What about Notion Rain?
That's the next one that comes up. Because not only is Notion Rain the backdrop for this episode, but at 3 mana for a sorcerer, you Surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, and then it deals 2 damage to you. That's not bad at all.
I love it.
I think it's great. I think the mana cost is there.
The artwork, I'd love to see this art, like just a full art, no text list, full art version.
Yeah. And who cares about losing 2 life in Commander? You're getting to Surveil 2 and draw 2 cards. So not only does that give you card advantage, but that gives you some form of graveyard
put this in
manipulation.
Sadisty, you know?
Yeah.
You get those Sadisty triggers, and then you get to draw 2 more cards, and it's, especially if those 2 are creatures, you're like, sweet.
Yep, that just works.
So,
it just works.
Yeah.
The card that was going to be the backdrop for this episode was going to be Whispering Agent for a while until Brandon brought to my attention the artwork for Notion Rain.
Mm-hmm.
So at 3 mana for a 3/2 with Flash, when he enters the battlefield, Surveil 1. As a creature, he's not that great. I mean, he has Flash and Surveil 1, but he's a 3/2.
But you know what, Travis?
What?
He has a job to finish, and it's you.
And it's you.
I will find you.
Need to figure out something sweet to put there.
I will kill you.
Watery Grave got some new artwork, and it's pretty
I
sweet.
like it.
Dimir Guildgate got some new artwork, and it's pretty sweet. Oh, I accidentally closed out of that too quickly. What about Gruesome Menagerie?
What is that?
Read it and tell me. I couldn't say.
3 black. Oh man, 3 black for a sorcery. Choose a creature card with converted mana cost 1 in your graveyard. Then do the same for creature cards with converted mana cost 2 and 3. Return those to the battlefield.
What do you do with this?
I don't know.
What do you
I
do in
legitimately
Commander with
don't
this?
know. I don't know.
Do you do
What
anything?
What can you hit?
I don't know, man. It's...
You get your mana dork back, and then I don't know.
And then you probably miss and then get another thing back, but it's 5 mana. So you have gotten back a mana dork and then maybe something that has an ETB trigger on 3. But even
know.
then, it's 5 mana.
You get your so you get your Llanowar elf back. You get your Sucker Tribelder back
Okay.
on 2.
And your
then
Wood
what are
Elves
we
back
playing?
on 3.
Okay, there we go. We did it.
So you're saying that in the green-black deck, this is actually a mana ramp card.
Sure.
All right, maybe I'll have to get one and use it.
For 5 mana, I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe not. You know what's not 5 mana? Midnight Reaper. It reminds me... The artwork reminds me of the Nazgul, first of all.
Yeah.
From Lord of the Rings. Like, the horse, the head kind of slumped over, the rider.
What's its creature type, though?
It's a zombie knight. This is a very interesting creature type. Something we don't see hardly ever. But at 3 mana for a 3/2, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Midnight Reaper deals 1 damage to you, and you draw a card.
Now, as long as you don't have, 50 million tokens out and then somebody Wrath of Gods, you're fine.
Right. Yeah, because it's not you, May. This just happens.
And this dude is going to see, he's going to die at the same time everything else dies, so he's going to see all those deaths happen.
He's going to see your death happen.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be the cause of it. He's going to turn around, come up to you, and say you're dead.
Like, hey, man, I didn't sign up for this.
No, he's going to be Kin from Fist of the North Star.
Right. Yeah.
If I could say it any better, I know what to say. I'm just not even going to attempt it.
I know you're not going to attempt it, and I am actually going to thank you for not attempting to do that. Because I don't think that anybody other than that voice actor could do it.
Right.
Ritual of Soot, though, is our 4 mana
Pretty good.
sorcery. Destroy all creatures with CMC 3 or less. So it houses
This is
tokens.
what you play against the Midnight Reaper.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. He's like, oh, that's cool. That's all those sweet tokens you have there. Well, here you go.
Because those tokens are 0.
And
Right?
that's about it. That's just the board wipe from Black.
This is the token board.
It is. It really is the token board wipe. And mana dorks, I suppose, but that's about as far as it goes. Creeping Chill.
Okay.
I don't know. The name of it just makes me laugh. 4 mana, Creeping Chill deals 3 damage to each opponent. You gain 3 life when it's put into your graveyard from your library. So when you surveil it, pretty much, right? You may exile it. If you do, Creeping Chill deals 3 damage to each opponent, and you gain 3 life. I just can't help but think of Netflix and Chill.
So who's Netflix in this artwork? Is it dude, and then the chill is the spider in the background? the shadow of the
Oh,
giant,
I
like,
didn't even
million-legged
notice the
spider.
spider. Yeah, that's a good point. That's funny.
So, is that Netflix and that's Chill, or is Chill the dude and Netflix is the spider?
That's a good
That's how
question.
that goes, right?
I think so. It's funny. The perspective on this artwork is a little strange.
It's
Like the
pretty
way
good though.
the way the shadow is cast, but it's still pretty cool. And we're scrolling.
Plague Crafter.
Yeah, Plague Crafter. That was going to be the one I was going to bring up. What's Plague Crafter?
Tuna Black, it's your Fleshbag Marauder.
It
And
is.
that's literally it. But it's got one higher power. And then it
One.
does something better if they can't sacrifice the creature. They discard.
Yeah, so this can kind of just be played anytime.
Right.
And in some scenarios, this can just be better than Fleshbag Marauder. But I think that no, maybe this is just better. Or
I mean,
Planeswalker, each player who can't.
you're playing this in a 4-player game. Maybe there was just a board wipe and the person who wiped the board got a creature back out. But then you played this guy, killed that creature, made everybody else discard a card.
Yeah,
Some
I mean,
amount of
that's
value.
fine. Yeah, and even for you, let's say you're playing with 3 other people, you're going to get value here no matter what. Whereas with Fleshbag Marauder, if you're playing it just to get rid of one person's big threat, and other people, let's say you just said, don't play anything, and because I'm going to get rid of this thing. But with
Right.
Plague Crafter, no matter what, you don't have to make any alliances with anybody. You can just say, Plague Crafter, sorry for your loss.
Right. It's a good card. I think it's pretty well designed. Fleshback Marauder was already a good card. Merciless Executioner
Yep.
was exactly what that was, and this is just another one to add to that list.
Yep. And I mean, that pretty much does it. Right? That
Yeah,
pretty much does it
I
for
think
Dimir.
so.
For, like I said, for the guild that has the most cards, and when I say that, I mean the most cards in the row on Mythic Spoiler, because we're just going straight down here, it becomes easier and easier to skip cards, and there's a lot less interesting things to talk about. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's necessarily a product of Dimir as a guild. I just think that's because what we end up having here is a lot of vanilla creatures, a lot of things. We have reprints, we have just some, I don't know, some stuff that's just not that interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. That's just how it is.
No, and it's fine. They pushed the mechanic hard enough to where it had the most cards. It's a good mechanic.
Gatekeeper Gargoyle is our run the maze, run the jewels centric card. A 6 for a 3/3 gargoyle with flying that gets enters the battle, not gets +1/+1, but enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each gate you control.
So,
And that's not even that great.
you've managed to get all 10 gates out and not win the game yet. I mean, he becomes the 13/13, right? For 6 mana, that's pretty good.
I guess if that's what you're going for.
I mean, like I said, if you've not managed to, Maze's End and win the game yet,
Yeah.
but,
We'll go. I'm just showing Liliana the Last Hope, our Mythic Edition, Guilds of Ravnica, Planeswalker here, but that's pretty much it. Honestly, at the end of the day, as cool as I think that Surveil is, I think that Damir, commander-wise, is one of the weaker guilds here.
right.
I think
mean,
that
yeah,
is so
two
far.
There's out of Dimir that we've seen in time.
Yeah, that's fair to say. But I also think that Boros and Izzet have really produced a lot more just power cards. I don't know. Power cards, utility cards, what have you. Whereas I think that Dimir really focused on Surveil and really wanted to make
Right.
it a thing.
I
Which,
think out of the guilds here, where Dimir's working with the Golgari and Izzet, because they share colors with the both of them,
oh yeah.
they're the one that gets in and helps support the other 2 guilds, right?
Yeah.
Because Surveil just worked.
Yeah, in a microcosm of, Boros, Izzet, Dimir, Golgari, and Selesnya, I think that Dimir has the most ambition of things that it wants to be, but ends up lacking in a few areas because it pushed so hard for that Surveil, for that graveyard synergy, but at the same time didn't have enough to have you able to Surveil, but then actually benefit from it as well.
Right.
That took me a long time to explain.
But we'll see, because this is a very successful mechanic. A lot of people are loving it.
I love it. I think it's great.
It's getting as much love as Prowess did when it came around.
I
And
don't
it did
think
not
so.
take long for them to put Prowess into an evergreen mechanic.
Yeah.
So they could probably do it as fast with this one if they think it's going to be that successful.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, if it does become an evergreen mechanic, then go for it. Make that Surveil commander deck, and it's going to be dumb
Yep, that's right.
fun.
But until that happens, we're going to be wrapping up this episode of Commanding Magic Season 3, Episode 1.3, Guilds of Ravnica Set Review, the Dimir Guild. And in the next episode of our Guilds of Ravnica Set Review, we're going to be seeing what Vraska's up to when we review Golgari.